Hi guys, Daria here. How's your day going? I didn't get enough sleep last night. Well, mornings don't start with coffee. That's just what people say on Facebook. The reality is that you're like in the Matrix until you get your magic shot of caffeine. That's so much better. Did you see how the picture just got brighter and more luscious, and the colors have been transformed? Well, of course it's not the effect of my coffee, it's the color correction that we've made to this video, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. So, let's get started! On the Movavi blog, we always talk about the basics of filming and editing, but in video production there is another very important aspect – color correction. With the help of color correction, you can fix original images and make a bright, colorful video from a dull one. If the color balance is off in the frames you shot or an image is too dark, basic color correction tools can help fix that. But I should warn you not to rely on color correction only. Not every frame can be saved at the editing stage. Color correction is useful not just as a technical tool, when we need a clear and vivid picture, but also as an artistic one. You've probably heard that with a specific color palette, you can set the mood of a scene. In this case, the video needs to be colored, that is, to have its color balance adjusted and to set a bias to one color or another.
As an artistic technique, color correction is often used in movies. As a rule, cold colors help create a gloomy atmosphere on the screen, inferring a depressed state. We often see cold shades of blue in dramas and detective movies. Warm colors can be used to create the opposite mood. But don't take the symbolism of colors literally. Red doesn't always mean violence or danger. Sometimes it's just a bright accent. Green isn't always calm and serene. Sometimes it can imply mystery and mysticism. In The Matrix, the Wachowskis used color correction to portray the real world as more natural and cold, and the world of The Matrix with a pronounced green bias.
Don't expect color correction to do all the heavy lifting. A shift towards this color or that color is only used to underscore the mood in video. The artistic effect of color correction works when the correct composition of the frame and lighting have been selected. They play the most important role. Let's look at a real example of how color affects our perception of a scene. We can look at the same frames with the same composition, size, light and editing, but using different color correction.
We shot the scene of me dreamily drinking coffee while gazing out of the window. Now it's ordinary, not very exciting and lacking in contrast. By the way, that's no accident. Many cameras have automatic settings for such shooting modes that specifically reduce the contrast in the footage in order to capture as many color shades as possible. The full color palette is then restored later, at the color correction stage. Here is the same scene, but in warmer, more saturated colors. In the last frame, you cannot see my emotions. But despite the cloudy weather outside, the mood seems good. It makes me feel as if I should upload the picture to Instagram or write to an old friend. And now in colder, not so contrasty or saturated colors. The picture immediately seems sadder, as if I were writing a tearful poem.
There are certain rules regarding camera movement and composition, but there are no such rules for color correction. It all depends on what kind of mood you want to bring out and what atmosphere you want to convey. The most important thing is that the image should appear harmonious and convey the appropriate mood. Despite the absence of rules, we can still highlight common mistakes that you should avoid.
Make sure in advance that you have sufficient lighting. You can always lighten the picture during the montage, but this tool is not a miracle cure. Sooner or later, there will be noticeable noise and the frame will become hopelessly corrupted. Besides, overexposure and stark shadows cannot be fixed during montage. Do not use unnatural colors. For example, if you fill everything with orange or pink, it will look alien and ugly, unless of course this is part of your concept. Do not overdo it. Stretched to the limit, saturation will not make your video more vivid. Remember, the color is just the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. Try to ensure shots from the same location match each other in color. Otherwise, you will create the impression that each scene is a new one.
And now to practice, let's figure out which settings are responsible for what.
Open your video editor and upload the files. In Movavi Video Editor, you can use the auto color correction options. Choose your clips, click Properties, Color Adjustment, and the options you need. Already pretty good. But we'll go a stage further and take a look at the manual adjustments. Don't be alarmed by the number of parameters. I'll tell you everything in detail. The first two sliders are responsible for the level of brightness and contrast in the image. Let's make it a little lighter and add more contrast. Saturation changes the depths of colors. Let's go a little higher, but don't overdo it, or the colors will start to clash violently. Using this parameter, the image can also be made very dim, or in shades of gray. This slider will make only the light areas of the frame more or less bright. This is useful when you want to change the level of brightness in a specific area. The shadow slider works in a similar way. You can use it to make the shaded areas of the frame more textured. Gamma also changes the brightness of the frame, but is non-linear, unlike the brightness slider. So the medium tones will show greater changes, and the light and dark areas will show less. Hue changes the color balance. Be careful with this tool. You can very easily turn your characters into the Hulk or an inhabitant of Pandora. Temperature lets you add yellow or blue shades, making a picture warmer or colder. The same goes for tint, which lets you give the frame a more violet or green tone. So, we have the first color corrected version. This is how the picture looked before and after. Here is the same for the second option. And here is how we made an example earlier. We cut the clip in half at the point where the situation changes. The first part is gray, dull, and depressive. And then the right side is bright and cheerful. Apply a smooth transition between the two and adjust its duration.
That's so much better. Well, today we learned how to do basic color correction using Movavi Video Editor. And don't worry if you don't get the desired result the first time. Color correction is one of the most difficult aspects of editing photos or videos. Now you have the opportunity to make your vlogs and videos from holidays even more colorful and interesting. Nothing to color? Then watch this episode on frame composition and start filming. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave us your likes and give us some ideas for future videos in the comments. Bye-bye!